Welcome to Swing State University, a college golf and lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, James Boone, and joining us this week from Iowa State University, junior Jackson McCommon. Let me tell y'all a little story. So this was about 3 years ago now. It was 2022. I had been 2 years out of college, played at Murray State, really hadn't touched a golf club in about 2 years, moved to Memphis, Tennessee. I was coordinating some sports leagues in the city, running some camps, doing some FCA type stuff. And I just got the itch. You know, when you get that itch and you're like, I just need to go compete in something. You know, I hadn't updated my handicap in probably 2 or 3 years. And so I was eligible for just about anything. And so I was like, man, there's a USAM qualifier down in Oxford, Mississippi. And I was like, you know what? Let me just go play in it. I hadn't played in any tournaments all season long, all summer, and I'm so washed. And to be honest, I still haven't updated my handicap because I want to be, I want to play in some stuff. Just when you get that itch, but I had that itch, and I was like, let me go down to Oxford, Mississippi, in the heat of July, and go down and play in a USAM qualifier. That was back when it was 36 whole days walking. I get there, I get to the range, have a great range session, and then get down to the starting tee, and I got paired with Jackson McCommon. Had just graduated from Houston High, was about to enroll, maybe he had already enrolled at the University of Memphis, was about to start his college golf career at the University of Memphis, and just had an awesome day with our guest today, Jackson McCommon. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, James. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I'll never forget seeing you walking up to that 10th tee with the, his little Sunday bag. I think you had,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many clubs, 7 or 8 in there. I was like, who's this goober walking up with this?
No
And then I think I
shot.
posted a couple of 78s and was like, okay, he's the smart guy carrying a light bag around.
That's right. That's
if
right.
I remember correctly, it was about 130 degrees that day, and my dad almost died walking up the final fairway. Handed me my bag, and I think I walked in with it. So,
well, we were both in good company because I think we both shot a couple 78s. I think you saw me top a couple drives. Yeah, it was a special day for sure. But yeah, those are our origins, those were our roots. But honestly, a lot has happened, Jackson McCommon, in the last 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, which we're going to get into a little bit today. But a little bit about Jackson and his background. As I said, Houston High, played there for 4 years, ends up enrolling and playing at the University of Memphis. Played there legitimately for 2 years, had a redshirt year in the middle of that. And then this past summer, transferred to Iowa State University. But before we get deep into the show and I'm in Memphis, Tennessee right now. There's so much we could talk about.
Yeah, man.
In terms of the city, in terms of your career here at the University of Memphis, and then starting anew up in Ames, Iowa. But I would love to get a picture of how you got introduced to the game of golf, what that looked like for you.
Yeah, man. So my mom's dad, my grandfather, he was an older guy when I was born. He was a retired golf professional. He was actually the first native Augustan to play in the Masters. So That's pretty cool. He was a head pro for 37 years up in Columbus, Ohio at Scioto Country Club. We didn't live in the same city, but he would always call my mom, and, when we'd go see them, they lived down in Florida at the time. He'd be like, all right, let's go to the range. Let's go hit some balls. We'd go play golf. We'd go play holes. And when he'd come in town, he'd always tell my dad, you guys need to get a membership somewhere. You need to get your boys playing golf, me and my older brother. And, I always wanted to play baseball or football or basketball. And that's what I did year round pretty much. And then, I golfed when I wasn't busy. That all kind of changed when I got into my freshman year of high school. I remember at the time it was like, am I going to play football? Am I going to play golf?
Yeah.
I really love football. I'm a smaller guy. I had some injuries. And it came down to, what do I see longevity-wise? Like, what am I going to do? And I was like, all right, I'm going to do golf. I don't really want to get hurt in football. I hadn't really thought, I want to play, golf in college or professionally. It was just something I did. And it hurt to let go of football. I remember that. But yeah, I kind of was like, I'll do golf. My older brother played golf. He was a senior the year before I was on the team, and I'd seen he enjoyed it and it was fun. So I was like, I'll try golf. I played in a few matches that freshman year, and I didn't play great, but then we made it to the state championship. Our region that year was pretty easy, so we got through. And then actually one of my teammates got in trouble and got suspended. And so I got the call up for state, and coach was like, hey, man, you're in. And so freshman me, I was like, I'm struggling to break 40. What am I going to do? So we go to the, TSSAA Public School Large Championship where, there's a lot of good players.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys, I think, going to the University of Tennessee, 3 or 4 other D1 commits. And I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, "There's no way I belong here, like, what's going on?" And we're in the practice round, and it's torrential downpour, like, terrible, like, we shouldn't have played. We get there the next day, the rain doesn't stop, it's awful. I think they had some guy that just really loved the rule book of golf, and
Mhm.
we played the ball down. So, I mean, there's puddles in every fairway, like, dang near on the greens also, and we're playing the ball down, like, it was ridiculous, and I played probably the round of my life at the time, and I shot
Mm.
78. I think I was, like, tied for 15th or something, and I'd either tied or beat one of the guys that was committed to a big school, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I can
Yeah.
kinda do this. I'm not that far off," and even though the 2nd round got canceled because of rain, that kinda just sparked me like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
can actually do this." And
Mhm.
so that was the first time I'd ever kind of felt that.
Yeah, it was the thoughts going in your head about what is my ceiling in this? Is it football? Is it golf? Is it football? Or is it golf? But those questions of, shoot, I might be able to take this a little bit further than football.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, at the time when I chose golf over football, I had never thought about there being a possibility of
Hmm.
college golf or professional golf. I didn't even know anything about college golf at the time.
Yeah, you're just playing because you enjoyed it.
I was just playing, man. Yeah, I had a couple of buddies at the country club and we would go play now and then, but it was
Yep.
never anything like this is what I'm going to do with my life. Yeah, it's looking back on it, it's like, man, I was so raw and
Mhm.
I just wish I got with a coach sooner and
Mhm.
fixated on that piece of it because I had so much ability for so long that I didn't
Mm.
tap into because I thought I could do it my own way. And you get to a point where that doesn't really work. So I think my 10th or 11th grade year, I had a couple of buddies that were seeing Jonathan Fly in
Mm.
Memphis,
Mhm.
and I decided to go see him. And dude, he changed my golfing life. Complete 180. I'd play at the home club and shoot a couple under, and I'd go out the next day and shoot 15 over. It was you could see it, but it was just hard to consistently day in, day out go do that. And
Yeah,
Jay Fly introduced me to like a one-way miss and that sort of thing. You would think you might
it's good
stumble upon
stuff.
that by playing, but you'd be surprised how hard-headed I am. We worked on that and got my swing pretty dialed, and I started to see some really nice tournament results. And then stuff came together through the end of high school, and I was lucky enough to get offered and get a spot at the University of Memphis.
I'm curious what the golf scene is like in Memphis. I have a framework for how the city operates, but I'm
Yeah.
not tapped into the golf circles at this point. But what does Memphis golf traditionally look like?
Yeah, man, some junior tours. USJGT was a big one. Shout out Cliff Frisbee. He did that for a while.
I remember whenever I was coming up as a junior, they would always have tournaments at Windike,
Dyke,
Callaway.
and man, it was so fun going out there with a few guys some guys you
Mhm.
don't know. There'd be some really good players come in and play. And it was a good challenge, a good way to measure yourself up. And that was my intro to that. Sned's tour in
Mhm.
Tennessee is a big thing.
Yeah, did any of the guys that you grew up playing with, whether your age, a year or two above, year or two below, end up playing at a relatively high level?
Yeah, man. So I got a few buddies on my high school team. We had 3 guys who played D2 golf. So we had some really good players. Davis Bird, Matt Neisel, King Grzani, Zach
Yeah.
Olson, all really good players. Even like outside of just my school team, one of my best friends, Luke Sinkowicz, he's at West Georgia now. He played at Central Arkansas and South Alabama also. Really good player. And then Christian Pardue is another one, homeschooled in Memphis, plays at Tennessee now. He's popping off. He's really learning to play, and it's fun to watch. So
That's cool. So there is sort of a fraternity in Memphis of guys that
really,
you keep up with that end up going other
I
places.
mean, we all just butted heads since we were like ninth, 10th grade, and you know, we're all still playing now. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Before we get too far into this, I do want to backtrack a bit and give your full rundown resume, and then we can get back into the
Yeah.
arc. Obviously, from Memphis, Tennessee, went to Houston High, was a 4-year letterman in golf, one in baseball. Shout out to Pops, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Played professional baseball. He's from Memphis, played at Memphis. Believe he got drafted in the 10th round or something, pitched for a little bit, got up to AAA, blew his arm out. But from everybody I talked to, he was balling.
You had to give him 1 year of baseball at Houston, yeah, before
Yeah,
you.
dude. Yeah, funny story. So it was my freshman year. I played baseball. I was on JV all year. They had a really good team that year and had a really, really good left fielder. He was pitching in the sub-state game, and they needed somebody else. And they were like, who's an outfielder that is good enough to play in the varsity game? Like, we might need one. We don't know yet, but like, we might need one. And so I guess my name was called. So I'm in the dugout with all these senior guys. I just kind of got thrown into the fire. And it's my first game. My varsity uniform is like an XL. I'm like 5'4". We're warming up and I'm like, I'm not playing. They just have me here just in case. And Collins Day, head coach, comes up to me and he's like, hey, dude, you're in left field. And I was like, what?
You're like,
So
okay,
I'm
coach.
starting in left field, like second or third batter. There's a guy on second, and I got a ground ball hit to me, and I threw it in, held the guy at third. Yeah, that's how I got my letter in baseball my
Yeah.
freshman year.
There's also starting to become a theme here of freshman year Jackson McCommon, just like, all right, we need one. And they just throw you into the fire, throw you into the
Yeah,
wolves.
man. No kidding. That's pretty much my freshman year. That sounds right.
High school, this is a 9-hole scoring average, so 35.7 9-hole average. Super important. Super important that we get that granular with the
Yeah,
details.
that's funny.
It made it to the school's 22nd state championship appearance, his 10th individually, the 2020 Daily Memphian Boys Golfer of the Year finalist, and also a member of the Tennessee Junior Cup team. So finishing your high school career at Houston High, stayed locally at the University of Memphis. How'd you land on that? Obviously, you had a lineage. Your dad went to school there, was a very successful athlete there. You had some
Yep.
family ties. But can you talk about what went into that decision of, hey, I'm going to stay in town?
So I had a couple of smaller offers, I remember, and I definitely took those into consideration. It was a lifelong dream of mine to play a sport in college.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do that at the highest level I could, whether that was Memphis or wherever else, an SEC schools. I just wanted to go compete against whoever the best I could. And so at the time, Memphis was the best offer. It didn't look like I was going to get one of those dream school offers.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's going to take a lot to pry me away from Memphis. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the decision and take the pressure off myself. I think it was really good for me for my senior year to know
Mhm.
what I'm doing and be able to structure a plan around that.
What did building a relationship with that coaching staff look like? Because they were local, did you get much exposure to them in the recruiting process?
Yeah, I like this question because talking to a lot of the juniors at my club, so many people don't know anything about college golf
Wow.
recruiting.
Yeah.
First things first. So, funny enough, I think I saw a Luke Kwan video. I'm probably a 10th grader. Like, I'm just learning about college golf. And he did a whole video of how do you go to the next level. And I remember watching that and being like, you got to email coaches. Like, what in the world? That's crazy. I thought they just came to tournaments and they see who they like and that's who they get. And it's actually way the opposite. You email them your schedule and say, hey, if you can be here, I would love for you to come see me play. So yeah, I think I reached out to probably 15 or 20 schools, mostly local.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
What
remember
do you mean by local? Like, give the range, like
just
200 miles?
something like that. Like I'd
Yeah.
probably hit up Western Kentucky
Yeah.
and UT Martin, Memphis,
If I was
Mississippi
there at the
State.
time, you would be a hilltopper, by the way.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, so I remember, getting a few responses like, hey, our roster is full. I know that's a really common one.
Totally.
A lot of the time it is full and, some of them just aren't interested and you don't get a email back from, half of them. But that's just the world of college golf. Coaches are busy and you just got to keep kind of knocking at the door
Mhm.
and until you get an answer.
How do you not get discouraged in that process?
Man, it's hard because
Yeah.
I've heard of guys where they email and they get an email back saying like, hey, sorry, we're not interested. And then eventually that's like, oh, okay, you played good at this event. Maybe we do have a spot for you. Like, things like that can happen. And, it's important to not be annoying and like annoying
Mhm.
coaches, but it's important to keep knocking at the door and hold your courage that like, the right thing is going to happen for you, whether that's community college, whether that's going to a big D1 school. Like, we all have our own journeys and you got to keep plugging at whatever you want. And, I remember, I don't know if Memphis responded to me initially saying, yeah, we're going to come watch you immediately. But, I think I kept sending scores and they got a little bit better. And eventually, Coach Will Pearson responded and said, hey, I'm going to come watch you at this event. I'll be there. And I remember that made me so nervous, dude. Like, I was like, I walk up there and see Coach Pearson in his blue shirt, and I'm
Yeah.
literally just
Like,
like,
this is it.
this is it, man. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
And I think I played pretty bad, and I think that's common. It happens. Obviously, I would have wanted it to go the other way, but like, I feel like this goes for everything in golf.
Yeah.
You don't know how you're going to react in a situation until you've been in that spot. So I think once that happened, every other coach that followed me after that, I was like, it's just another round. I just kept plugging away, sending emails and stuff like that. Eventually got in contact with Coach Smart at Memphis. I think he was pretty interested too after watching. After about 6 months of that or so, they were
Mhm.
like, hey man, would you like to come on a visit? And at the time I was like, absolutely. Yes, that'd be
Yeah.
great. I was a lifelong Tigers fan.
Yeah.
In the fall, grew up going to the Liberty Bowl every
Yeah.
Saturday. I was like, man, this is really cool. I'm going to have a hard time if they
Yeah.
offer me to say no. So I went on the visit. really enjoyed it. And then at the end of the visit, they were like, we can, talk about financials now. And I was like, wow, is that an offer? That was so cool to me, man. And so we went home, talked about it a little bit, and it was right for me. So made that decision. I don't regret it at all. Totally enjoyed my 3 years at Memphis, but I think it was just time for a change. So
Oh, that's so good. That's so
yeah,
good. And before we talk about that change, I think you touched on a couple interesting points. I think one being the timeline of when high school golfers peak. It's such a compressed time of whenever you need to perform. And if you don't perform, you don't get the opportunity that you're shooting at after getting exposure to whatever. And then your route does start to look a little bit different. Like you said, you start exploring community colleges and all this stuff. But it's interesting that if okay, before 17 years old, you're not peaking and you're not performing in these certain tournaments, you're probably not getting the exposure that maybe if you just gave it another 6 months or a year of just like
totally,
work, you may be in a completely different spot. You may be a completely different golfer, which is just how
totally.
golf is. That process is tough.
For sure. It's a very pressure packed situation. But I think something that's really important too is just knowing that literally anywhere you go, whether that's
That's
community
good.
college,
That's good.
D3, D2,
That's
there's
good.
good players everywhere. Like wherever you go, small D1, big D1,
hmm
like those good players are really close to each other. It's not a big difference. So,
And then the piece of reaching out to coaches, coaches responding back to you. To tie it back to the University of Memphis, this was a basketball coach that I used to play for, but he always told me that Josh Pastner, whenever he was at U of M recruiting guys, every single player who'd reach out to them, which I don't know who was fact checking this, but he made it an emphasis to at least respond and be like, hey, bro, like, thank you for reaching out to me. Like, I encourage you, keep pursuing this, keep following your journey. But he would at least get back with them and shoot a message and say thank you as a courtesy, which I thought
yeah.
was a cool practice.
Yeah, that says a lot about him because I remember my fair share of being like, this is a possibility, and then just, totally getting ghosted. And at the time, dude, I probably wrote down a list and was like, I'm never
A
gonna
hit list, a hit
go.
list.
Yeah, literally. I mean, that drove me crazy. But
Yeah.
seeing what they do, coaches, and how busy a lot of them are, like, I get it.
Yeah, totally.
It's a
Totally.
tough job.
Especially running a golf team, you're understaffed. It's generally the head coach and an assistant. And then obviously the bigger the school, I'm sure U of M, Iowa State, do y'all have two assistants at Iowa State right now or just one?
We actually have one, just one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so even at a school like that in the Big 12, typically running lean, you only have two coaches. You have a head coach, assistant coach, both trying to handle dozens and dozens of emails a week of,
Yeah.
hey, look at my film, look at my scores, all this stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, tough. Transitioning, so, hey, you make the decision and you have that pressure release come off. You have, hey, is this really happening? I'm getting an offer. This is so cool. And then you go into 2 seasons of just growth and development. You get tossed into a pool of dudes who are some dogs, some real deal players. How'd you go about developing your game over that 2 year stretch?
Yeah, man, it was a lot of learning. Had to take some steps in the wrong direction to learn what my role was. It's tough because at Houston, I was the guy. I was winning junior tournaments, and then all of a sudden I get thrown into qualifiers. The guys beat me by 20. And
hmm
it's like, holy cow, I don't know if I'm built for this. My freshman year, it was a lot of bad practice, getting down on myself, lost some confidence. But then through trial and error and just showing up every day, I started to learn these guys are good players. This is what they're doing that's different from me. And, this is how I'm going to tailor it to myself. And so I came out that spring, my freshman year, after a really rough fall. And I don't think I did much over the winter, but I came out in the spring and I think I won the first qualifier by 3. And so at the time, that was like, wow, I really belong here. Like, I can do this. And so that was just huge for my confidence. I think I kind of struggled in the first couple events I played that year, but then, carrying that over to the summer of like, okay, like I was on a pretty solid team and, I played a few events. I'm a good player. I had a pretty solid summer. I had a couple of like top 10s in some summer events, just played some solid golf. Carrying that into my sophomore year, started the year pretty solid. Didn't quite crack a lineup. Got hurt at the end of my fall season. I had an SI joint sprain. Not fun. It's kind of a very obscure injury, but not fun.
Okay.
That kind of knocked me out for the last event of the fall. Rehabbed that. Got a lot better over the winter. And I sat down with coach and he was like, hey man, it's probably best if you redshirt. And I'd kind of been thinking about it a little bit. I didn't really want to do it, but I just committed to it. And so, yeah, it sucked at the time, but I'm really glad I have that extra year now.
Yeah. Do you think being a hometown guy, being from Memphis, added some pressure to you?
For sure, man. I tend to internalize things like that, like whether that's, me being the older guy on the team now or hometown kid in Memphis. Like, I want to be good so bad and set such an example for whatever I represent that, I've kind of learned as I've gotten older to kind of detach myself from that. And this doesn't help me at all. Right. Like, it's cool if you can pull it off and the emotions are a little heightened, but most of the time, like, it's just holding you back. I thought I was going to go in there my freshman year and contribute and be a dog, but I learned pretty quick that I probably wasn't ready. And instead of having a chip on my shoulder, like, I got to go learn from these guys. And I got to admit to myself first, I got to change to get better. And that's something that a lot of golfers really struggle with. Even to this day, I struggle with. So still trying to get away from my ego a lot and putting that aside and just really doing whatever it is that I have to do to get better.
Which that humility, that posture coming into it makes it a lot easier whenever you're out practicing by yourself at Windyke and an old head inevitably comes up to you and is like, "Hey, Jackson, like, why aren't you in the lineup? Why aren't you?" It's like
Yeah,
reaching that point within yourself of, "Hey, I'm just trying to be where I'm at. I'm just trying to improve. I'm trying to trust my process. I'm trying to
for
continue to
sure.
work, and then the results will take care of themselves,
Absolutely.
even if it's not in the moment."
Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving forward a little bit, obviously you had those 2 years, you have your injury, you find yourself heading into the fall of your junior year at the University of Memphis, redshirt sophomore year, and it feels like you've arrived, right? This is kind of your breakout season. Start getting more opportunities, you start playing in more tournaments, not only playing in tournaments, start breaking out. 10th at the GMAC at UAB, and then also a T17 at Cincy's tournament, like you said, with a
Yeah.
stacked field. What contributed to those results heading into your junior year?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say the biggest thing holistically about my college career is just learning myself and learning how to practice. That's made a world of difference between me, my freshman year and me now.
Can I ask a follow-up
Because
question to that?
yeah, sure.
So whenever you think about you talk about, "Hey, I've dialed in my practice." Specifically, can you walk out what a day in the life of Jackson McCommon's practice routine looks like?
Yeah. So these days, a lot of times what I'll do is when the week starts, draw your calendar of practice from Monday to Friday, whatever that's going to be. And it
Mhm.
kind of gives you a checklist of like, okay, I'm hitting every piece of my game. And I feel like that has been a huge help. The Iowa State golf facility it's unreal. It can kind of almost be overwhelming. You can literally do anything out there. You can trap yourself to hitting balls in one spot on that facility. Like I've seen numerous guys fall into that. You can putt the whole time you practice. So when I just kind of write everything out, I hit all the boxes for the week, which is a really nice feeling.
Yeah,
When you're heading off to a tournament and you're like, I did my putting, I did my chipping,
yeah,
I did swing work, like I'm ready to go. So day to day, that can kind of change,
yeah,
but I'll start putting and then
mhm,
I'll do some wedge work and then I'll do my woods, like hybrid 3-wood driver. And then
yeah,
that'll be a day. And then the next day I'll go out and I'll do putting, move into like short game, and then really focus on approach and then some long irons and just making sure I'm hitting all the boxes every day. It's so easy to do what you're good at. And it's so much fun to do what you're good at because we just like that as humans. That's how we are. So it's really important to be able to either go look back at your stats or realize, hey, there's a guy on the team that's a better chipper than me. Like, I need to go chip, even if my chipping sucks and I don't want to do it.
yeah. Yeah, checking the boxes, making sure your game's in a good spot before you head off to a
Absolutely.
tournament, but then also being flexible and fluid enough to address certain parts of your game that need work. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Once you start seeing success that redshirt sophomore year, you start breaking out, you start approaching tournaments differently, you overcome that low point in your career, and then even probably personally in some levels, and then you finally start to see fruit at the University of Memphis. What goes into asking yourself questions about what's next for me?
Yeah. So looking back, even at the way I thought about it last year, a lot of that was immaturity
Mm,
in the sense of like, I've paid my time here. It hasn't done that much for me. But looking back on that, like that's such an immature view. And, I learned so much and I probably needed to be on like a longer timeline anyways, just because of where I was out of high school is not where I thought I was. I had some growing to do, that's for sure. And so I kind of broke out last year, had a good year. I'm playing the best golf of my life. And I'm sitting there being like, I'm not happy. I'm struggling mentally. It's such a weird, juxtaposition because you think when I'm playing good, it's going to solve every problem I have.
well,
And dude, it's not that at all. It's not. So that, I mean, ate away at me. And then you have like 6 months in season when you're in college golf. And at some point, you're probably going to play bad unless you're just an absolute freak. So I started to struggle into that spring and I missed the last 3 events.
mhm,
And ultimately, I even went in and talked to the coaches and they were proud. They were like, dude, I think mentally you're just in a rough spot. Like, it's probably best if you go at this point. And I'd kind of been thinking that for a while, and hearing that from them, I'm able to trust both of them and their judgment. Like, I think it was the right decision for me. So I really loved all the guys that I played with at Memphis. I don't think I had any bad teammates there. Love all those guys to death, but it was just time for a change of scenery.
It was time. Yeah, for sure. That's encouraging that you can look back and I hear a couple things. I hear, hey, this was right for me. I needed to move on, but at the same time, there was a lot of really good takeaways from that time. But it probably takes you now being at Iowa State and being removed from that situation to be like, okay, I actually appreciate my time.
Absolutely. Yeah. The day I hit the portal, it was like one of the worst days in the world is what it felt like. It killed me, man. I hated it. But now that I'm here, I see like holistically, that was so important for me. Just my human development, everything. That time at Memphis was invaluable.
Can you talk about the transfer portal for those who may not be aware for what that looks like in
Yeah, man.
golf
Absolutely.
circles?
The transfer portal in golf is pretty similar to other sports. You got to reach out to your advisor and you got to submit stuff to the NCAA saying, hey, I'm transferring, I'm waiving my scholarship here and I want to have a chance to play somewhere else. You have to get approved by the NCAA. They get back to you and say like, hey, yeah, you're going to be in. They don't open the portal until after the postseason is done. They have, I think it's 2 weeks that the portal's open, and you can't talk to any coaches in that period. It's kind of a dark time because you know that, after you told your coaches you're going into the portal,
Wow. Yeah.
there's a good chance you're not coming back. You're not allowed to talk to any coaches in that period of time in between. So it's a huge leap of faith. So it's really important to know, okay, this is what my results look like here. How's that going to measure up somewhere else? I kind of knew that there'd be a good chance I could transfer laterally or maybe a little bit better. But yeah, going in, it was scary because I was like, I don't know who's going to want me. If those teams do want me, do they have spots? Also, there was a lot of rumors about the roster cuts at the time. So that shrunk the portal by probably half of what it normally is. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties when you hit the transfer portal. But I was lucky enough. Coach Pearson, who's at Iowa State now, he's the assistant here. He was my assistant at Memphis my freshman year. So as soon as I hit the portal, I believe it was 8 a.m., whatever day it was, he texted me. I think he came to my house to come see me. And I committed on the spot. I was like, Coach, it's right. I want to be back with you. He taught me a ton my freshman year, learning how to practice. Coach Pearson showed me almost everything I know in terms of practice. He's been invaluable to my journey. So I figured, why not reunite with Coach Will? And so we're back together now, and it's been great. I love Coach Will. Funny story.
Yeah.
We were actually going on a family trip to Europe the day that the transfer portal opened.
I've seen photos. Hey, great trip. I'm kind of jealous of the trip.
Yeah, it was a fantastic trip and so much fun. I'd do it over again. But I will say it definitely added some stress to the portal because 8 a.m. the portal opened that day and we had a flight to London at like 3 p.m. So it was either I get recruited when I'm in London, England, with a 6-hour time difference overseas, or I commit today to the school. And I was kind of like, if something lines up, some kind of miracle lines up for me, I'm going to do it. I really wanted Coach Pearson to reach back out to me because I really loved him at Memphis. And I was kind of like, it'd be really cool to play at a big school like Iowa State. And I was lucky enough to where he reached back out to me when the portal opened. And yeah, we hit the ground running, man. It was meant to be.
With no visit either.
No visit, yeah.
You just took a step of faith. A kid from Memphis, Tennessee, has been in Memphis, Tennessee his whole life, was like, yep, Ames, Iowa. So Coach Pearson, shout out to Coach Pearson for real.
He's made this process worlds easier for me too. He told me, I know all the guys on the team. You're going to fit right in. I know your personality already. It's going to be smooth. If you're willing to, trust me, it's going to be good. And so I did. And it's worked out. I've never enjoyed golf more than I do now.
Man, that's so good. That's so good.
It's great.
Yeah, I think just kind of following you from a distance and knowing a little bit about your journey, I was curious of how free you would feel, because I feel like there comes a place in time where you just need to get out of the ecosystem you've been swimming in for a long enough time. And if you go to the perfect spot immediately out of high school, awesome, and you have a great relationship with your coaches and it's peaches and cream and awesome. Like, obviously the grind is not easy no matter where you go. The grind is going to be hard wherever you go.
For sure.
But if it's just the kind of the same of like, man, this is you keep running up your head against the wall, sometimes it is the right decision to go to the transfer portal. Like, some people have an opinion about he's transferring, like he's soft. He couldn't I'm not talking about you specifically or people talking about you, but I'm talking about in general. People are like, "Well, you just got to tough it out. You got to tough it out, tough it out." Sometimes the best decision for you is to get out of an ecosystem where you can, hey, let me like be myself, you know? So it's probably been really freeing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely been a process too of that, of like, instead of just like trying to crack a lineup, you know, that in itself is a whole learning process. And it's crazy how free I feel now practicing here and being around the guys. And I'm really appreciative for it.
Right. You're not walking to Collierville Kroger or Collierville Huey's and being like, wait, I went to high school with that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
there's none of that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. No kidding.
Can you recap this fall for us?
Yeah.
Maybe some highs and some lows. Obviously, transferring is like freeing and all the stuff, but as you mentioned, there's a lot of new stuff. I got to be a new person on campus again. Can you talk
Yeah, man.
through school side, social side, but then also golf side? What's went well? What's been hard?
Yeah. So social side, you'd have a
Mhm.
hard time to struggle here at Iowa State. Like there's so much to do, whether that's going to football, basketball games. There's so much to do in Ames. The town is completely revolved around Iowa State. So like, you know, whatever niche you have, like you're gonna run into some people and you'll have no problem being social. So that part's been good. It's very freeing, but I'm having to
Mhm.
kind of learn, you know, what do I do when I have 6 hours of downtime? Like when I'm in Memphis, like I'm going home.
Or
So
going to Fayetteville. Shout out to Fayetteville.
yeah. So that piece has been completely different here too. And I've really kind of learned like myself and like, you know, what I do when I'm truly alone. So it's been really cool, man. I
Mhm.
really love Ames. It's a really nice vibe.
Yeah, that's cool. I need to make it to Ames. Check out y'all's facility.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of it and videos from it from y'all's Instagram, and I'm like, that's a sick spot.
yeah. I'll be honest, the pictures and videos, like it doesn't even do it justice. It's just unbelievable, man.
That's an added bonus to committing without having taken a visit. You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
man.
it's yeah,
I'd seen some like Golf Digest articles or something, and I was
yeah,
like, I can deal with whatever else is in Ames if they have this. So
yeah.
it's lived up to the expectation.
Okay, I can feel like you came in and in the lineup, went as an individual to a tournament, and
Yeah,
then I feel like towards the end of the fall, you started trending.
for
Why
sure.
do you feel like you started trending once you got more comfortable?
Yeah, man. After getting my feet wet the first, 3 or 4 weeks, like kind of to start to feel at home and really learning how to use the facility to like hit my checkpoints or make sure if we're going to a course down in Alabama, I need to work on my chipping this week
Mm.
and learning how things fall together pre-tournament. And I think heading into the spring, like that's going to be really important for me.
Will you come back to Memphis at all over the holidays? What does
Yeah,
that look
man.
like for you?
I'll be there for a couple weeks at least. So
Cool.
I'm looking forward to that, being around buddies and playing the home course again.
Yeah. Windyke misses you, I'm sure.
Yeah, dude. I love that place.
I have a coworker who his son, he's around your age, but played and stuff like that. But whenever he was a little kid, he was out at Windyke while the FedEx was going on.
Oh
And he
yeah.
said Justin Rose came out there and was just like piddling around. I don't know why he was out at Windyke, but
Yeah.
he was out just practicing and putting and chipping and stuff like that.
Yeah, they have a few guys. I remember one year Ian Baker Finch came out after a long day of commentating. So I got to meet him on the range when I was a little dude and that was like super cool to me. Having the tournament in Memphis, like, dude, it means so much to that community, man. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Can you talk about Southwind? This is like a super niche Memphis thing,
Yeah.
but you rank, okay, this is what I want you to do for us. Can you rank your favorite golf courses in Memphis?
No, I'm gonna catch some flack for my list, but man, I feel like it kind of depends on what you're looking for a lot of the time.
Okay, don't be political. Don't be
My
political.
personal favorites here, I would probably put Memphis Country Club number one.
Mm.
It's an old Donald Ross design. It's not a very long course, but it's a crazy good design.
Hmm.
Really slept on. I like Spring Creek Ranch a lot. If you want to go low, you go out to Spring Creek Ranch. That's a great place. Ridgeway Country Club, shout out. I love Ridgeway Country Club. I haven't been out there in a long time, but it's kind of the same deal as Spring Creek. Like, if you want to go low, go play a game with your boys, go out to Ridgeway.
Let's go 4 and 5.
4 would probably be TPC Southwind. I put it that low because of the guest fees that I have to pay usually when I go out there. Pretty stout. But yeah, great track. If you want to go test every facet of your game, go to TPC Southwind. Number 5, I'm going to have to go with, it's between Windyke East and Windyke West for me.
Okay. Yep.
I'll say the West course. I probably had the most fun on the West course just because it's easier to go low out there. I've had some rounds where I've taken it stupid deep. and it's a fun time going out there with all my buddies over the summer. Gotta love the Wind Neck West course. So.
Yeah, we'll go 5A, 5B, West and East.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate
I like
that.
that.
Appreciate
I like that. We didn't want to ruffle any feathers. You kept it at the home course.
That might be a controversial list, but that's how I feel, man. I'd say honorable mention, Chickasaw Country Club, Colonial Country Club. Those are also great places. Like, people talk a lot about TPC Southwind. I think the hardest course in Memphis is Colonial Country Club. So it's kind of a cold take. A lot of people, I think, that play a lot would agree with that. That's where they actually used to play the FedEx. That place has got some freaking teeth.
I remember going out to watch the WKU guys the year after I was done coaching, and just watching them play. It was cold and windy and looked pretty miserable.
Dude, yeah. I think even par 1 under won individually that week.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a testament to, like, you know, even par 1 under is what wins the US Open. And these are really good college players.
Yeah.
I think Illinois was there that week, and like the best score was my teammate Diego, and he shot 1 under. Like, that place is freaking tough.
All right, Jackson, before we get off, we're going to go through this Swing State 6-pack. I'm going to ask you 6 questions, rapid fire questions, to get to know a little bit more about Jackson. All right, Jackson, let's get started with favorite course you've ever played.
There's one that comes to mind instantly, Ocean Forest Golf Club in Sea Island, Georgia. That place is absolutely immaculate in terms of design, condition. That place is top tier. Absolutely awesome. We were lucky enough at Memphis. I think we had a donor, and he got us out there. And dude, I felt like I was in heaven. It was incredible.
Yeah, you got to appreciate that. I've experienced this, but even heard stories of, we know a guy through a guide, through a donor.
Yeah.
He wants you guys to come out and host you guys. That's sweet. All right, let's go favorite course you've never played.
I think there's probably a consensus answer here of Augusta National, especially with the history of my grandfather, you know, being the first native Augustan to play in the Masters. Like, I want to go out to Augusta National and play.
Do you have any stories about playing in the Masters?
Yeah, so actually there's a funny picture of him. I don't know what hole it was on, but I just know his dad was fraternity brothers with Bobby Jones.
Whoa.
Yeah, he had a cart or something out there, and he was just, you know, driving around watching the Masters. And he drove up with my grandfather's dad, and he came up and he said, "Walker, do you want to be a good golfer like your dad?" And he said, "No, sir. I want to be a good golfer like you." Absolutely incredible. Like, that's gold. There's another one. There's a picture of my grandfather's dad peeking out from behind a tree. I think he wanted to watch my granddad, but my granddad, for whatever reason, didn't want to play in front of his dad or something, and he's just peeking out from behind the tree, and someone got the snapshot from the side. It's really cool.
That is cool. And it's also a good picture of the dad-son dynamic. That vein still holds true.
Oh, yeah.
In the golf world.
Yeah. He's got another story, too, where he was on 15. It was the final round. I think he was, like, tied for 15th or something at the time. Like, he was balling.
Yeah.
And he got to 15. I think it was blowing, like, I think he told me it was blowing, like, 50 miles per hour. It was probably, like, 40 or 30. And he got up to 15. I think he knocked a couple of balls in the water. He knocked a couple in, made a 10 there. Dropped 5 shots. I think he finished tied for 29th. Made a whopping $300. You know, I think we did the calculations, and if he tied for 29th last year, it would have been like, you know, $130,000 or something. So this goes to show how much times have changed. You can fact check me on that. 1956 Masters. Walker Inman Jr.
10 cupped it at
dude.
15 at Augusta. Eduardo Molinari at 15 at Augusta.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah. He was playing in the wrong era.
Yeah.
He, honestly, if he was playing in today's era, Walker Edmond Jr., what's his comp?
Honestly, I don't know. He was really old when I was born. I didn't get to see much of his great game. One thing I do know is that the short game and the putting never left him, because when we would go down to Florida and play, you know, it would make me so mad because I'd hit it 150 yards by him off the tee, and he'd get up there and make a par, and I'd make a triple bogey or lose my ball. He'd beat me every time. But favorite course I haven't played besides Augusta National would probably be, man, that's a tough one. I'd probably go with St. Andrews. That'd be really cool. Just growing up, seeing that. You know, I feel like right behind the Masters for me is probably the US Open and the Open Championship. St. Andrews is probably the most high profile course in that rotation. Just looks incredible. Kind of like another euphoric golf place where all feels right when you play it. That'd be really cool.
Let's go Dream Foursome.
Oh, Dream Foursome, man, that's tough. I'd probably have to go my grandfather, my dad, and then probably Rory.
I love that.
That might be a controversial pick, but I love Rory. I always have, and pride myself on having a similar game to him. So I really love Rory.
That's a good segue. Favorite player on tour right now?
I'm gonna have to go with Rory McIlroy again. I remember, I think it was in Memphis in 2012. I was at the FedEx St. Jude Classic at the time, and I was so excited. I don't think I'd ever been to a golf tournament before, and I finally was kind of like into golf. And I remember, Bubba Watson and Ricky Fowler. Those guys were so cool to me. And I remember I went in, bought a flag to get guys to sign it. I stood out there, and I remember Ricky Fowler walked right in front of me. I think I was the only kid out there. Walked right in front of me, didn't say anything. No shade, Ricky. You were probably busy.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably going to listen to this, Jackson, so.
I was probably pestering, but I remember Rory came in after I think it was his final round, and I don't think he played great, but he made a point to come over there and sign everybody's, whatever they had over there, and I still have this right here. Rory McIlroy, man.
Let's go in the flesh.
2012 ticket. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, he made a fan that day for life. So
Wow. That's so good.
yeah, man.
That's so good.
Really cool.
Yeah, that takes all the controversy out of it. It's like you guys are synced up.
100%, man. 100%.
Going back to talking about hosting the FedEx here in Memphis, talking about favorite players and interactions and stuff like that. My favorite player is Justin Rose. It has not always been Justin Rose. Like, obviously, I grew up a Big Tiger guy and Barry Woodland, a couple other guys like that. But was here my first year in Memphis at the St. Jude, and actually, I wasn't even at the St. Jude. I went to one of my favorite coffee shops in town, the Hub. It's inside where Briarcrest used to be a long, long time ago. But I think there's a church there now. But I was going to get a cup of coffee, and then Justin Rose walked out. And I was with my friend who isn't a golfer, is into soccer, but doesn't know anything about golf. I was like, dude, he's like a top 5 golfer on the planet. Like, you don't understand who is standing in front of us. And I was explaining his bio and resume while he's in front of us. And he was the nicest dude ever. Same interaction with a guy who has every right to be standoffish and reserved.
100%, yeah.
But yeah, it took time, and it was like, I'm gonna hang out with little Jackson McCommon.
Yeah,
at
man.
the FedEx St. Jude. Just sick.
Yeah.
Continue. Swing State 6-pack. We're moving so fast through this, by the way. This is going to be a 12-minute segment. It's going to be perfect. Favorite player on tour right now? Let's go. Favorite club in your bag right now?
Favorite club in the bag right now is probably my driver.
Dog.
Going back to my strokes gained this semester, it's been pretty evident that the driver is doing me well, and everything else is trying to get my score back up over par. But the driver has been consistent, and it's shown up every week, every qualifier. Like, I feel like I always drive it well. So I'm gonna have to go with my old faithful TSR3.
Okay. Titleist guy. Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I love it. All right. So this last question is 2 parts. Next tournament that you win, the 2-part question is, where are you going out to eat in Ames, Iowa? And then where are you going out to eat in Memphis, Tennessee?
Dude, that's a deep question right there. Yeah. Honestly, I haven't ventured out too much in Ames.
Okay, yeah.
So
it would be Chick-fil-A, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. There's a Chick-fil-A that I go to quite a bit. Honestly,
what are people in the Midwest known for? Or not? That's too broad of a statement, but like people in Ames are like, oh, you gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really cool bars here. AJ's and Size. I've been to those places a few times. I'll go with AJ's. It's got a pretty sick patio out there, so play some cornhole, watch some football.
AJ's, I love that. Shout out to the Cyclones. Shout out to the people of Ames, Iowa. We love it.
Yeah, man.
AJ's.
Memphis, dude. That's a tough question. Golly, make me really think here.
Don't give the wrong answer.
I know, I can't. Dang, man. Honestly, this might be a little controversial, but it's my favorite meal. I know that's a common theme tonight, but it's not too fancy. It's nice. I really enjoy it. Firebirds over in Collierville.
Okay, yeah. Is that on the square?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Over there, I just love it. They have a great steak. They got some Parmesan mashed potatoes. You don't break the bank. I love Firebirds.
Yeah, steak and potatoes.
Steak and potatoes, man.
Steak and potatoes.
Can't beat it.
Man, I love that. We're East Memphis people. We got to get out to the square more. We need to go out to Collierville.
Man. It's a great spot. You go do that, and then you head up to Great American Cookie right after.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll tell them we know Jackson McCommon, and they'll just roll out the red carpet.
They probably know me by name.
Get the steak and potatoes.
Yeah, that's the go-to day spot.
I love that. I love that. You're a classy man. All right, man. Well, let's wrap up. I don't want to hold you too much longer. But Jackson McCommon, thank you so much for hopping on. It's been far too long since we've talked last.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks for hopping on, bro.